2019, I'd walk on the back side of the property. And I'm a history buff, and there's a stagecoach road on the back side of the property. So this has nothing to do with him, but I dreamed one day I would run into Black Bart's stash of money somewhere on the stagecoach road to take us out of the financial woes that we were in. Because I mean, the majority of the time that I've worked here, we haven't had a lot of money. Only in the last 5 years, okay? So I dreamed about it, and I go, oh, silly Dave, what are you talking about? You're never gonna find it. I thought, oh, I'll get a metal detector. Silly Dave. Oh, I never went and got a metal detector. And I know enough about history that Black Bart spent all of his money in San Francisco, lived the high life, did 6 years in prison from the Pinkertons, and then disappeared off the face of the earth. Okay, so there's no money. He either found it and used it, or he spent it all. Okay, it has nothing to do with Mt.Gilead, nothing to do with the trail, it's just my thinking. So then in 2020, the pandemic hit, and I had this guy call me, and he's a friend of camp, and he said, hey, I have something for you. And I said, okay. He says, I want you to come over to my house. So I had to travel and go over to his house. And I said, okay. So I traveled and got over to his house, and he goes, I have something for you, but if I give it to you, you can't tell anybody where you got it. I don't want a tax receipt. I don't want a tax receipt, but I want to give it to Mt.Gilead. I said, I knew it wasn't for me. It was for Mt.Gilead.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. So he went to the hot water heater, and he said, here's a hammer, here's a claw. I want you to take the board off the bottom of the hot water heater. You know how they put hot water heaters off the ground?
Yeah.
You know? So he took the board off, and in there was an old can. It was a coffee can, one of the old coffee cans. And I opened it up, and there were gold coins from the 1880s.
Oh, wow.
And he had gotten them as an investment, and he was old enough that he didn't want them anymore. Wow. And he says, now, you don't have to take them if you want. And I go, well, okay, but we need to catalog these. I go, I got to tell the board that I'm getting a donation. What is this, drug money? You know,
Yeah.
I'm getting a donation. Well, come to find out, that was only part of it. And then he went over to a box in his garage. Then he went into his safe. And he kept on giving me coins. And this was right in the pandemic, and I didn't have 2 nickels to rub together, and we didn't have any guests. And so this guy gave us, I went to Rinker Rare Coins, and I sold them all. I sold every coin. It was north of $1.3 million.
Wow.
And, you know, the board didn't like that. They didn't know where it came from. I said, you're going to have to trust me. You're just going to have to trust me, because he asked me to swear. And I cataloged every coin. I actually bought some of the coins because I wanted them as a testimony to how God worked. So I bought them personally and have them, and I could show you one of the coins. They were $20 gold pieces. They were silver dollars. They were 6,500 silver dollars. You know, there was just so many coins. And so we cataloged them all at his house. I took them all to Rinker Rare Coins. He gave me a fair price for it. We invested that money, and then we made more money by investing that money. So we made more than 1.3. I think we got up to $1.5 million by investing the money. We didn't keep the coins,
Yeah.
because I didn't want the coins, right? What happens if somebody steals them? What happens if the house burns down and they all melt, you know? So that was the beginning of, to give you an idea, the water system that we have here. In 2019, the county said, we're shutting you down. You're gonna have to boil water or do bottled water because you need a filter on your water system. You go, why? Because their wells are at 35 feet. If they were at 50 feet, or deeper, we wouldn't have to do that. But they're 35 feet, so they are well water with the influence of surface water. And they said, you can't do that anymore. So I didn't have any money, and I go, what are we going to do? So they compromised, and we put a huge what they call CT. It's contact time pipe. We put a pipe, it's a 6-inch PVC pipe all the way to the pool and back in the ball field. And the water goes very slowly through that whole pipe before it goes to the top of the mountain so that it has contact with the chlorine to kill all the bugs. So they let us open with that, with the CT pipe. And then we have $500,000 worth of filtration system that you'll see the coins paid for all of that. The coins paid for the tops of the roofs, okay? Now, I've had a policy a little different than my predecessor that I don't ever go up and I ask anyone personally for money. I will let needs know. I will write it on a web page or whatever. But I don't do personal emails or texts asking for money. I just go, God, if you're in this place, you supply.
Yeah.
That's it. You supply. I'll let them know that there's a need there on the webpage, but I never ask anybody personally. So he gave us the coins.
Well, that, not to interrupt, but that's how, when you said you had gotten the money back to give Jim back for that loan, and then me and Jim prayed, and he called you back and said, no, you're not sending me that check. I want it to go to the water system.
Right, and so his money along with the others, so your money, the coin money, and then I got another story. There's a guy named Aaron, and Aaron used to do outdoor education program here. Okay, tall, lanky guy, 6'6", running on his motorcycle, and he would do the outdoor education with Genesis account. Okay, so he'd do it with the kids. He was a vagabond. Well, the pandemic came. He stopped doing outdoor education. He got married to a gal that the family owned a software company, and he became a software CEO. So he was in charge of the software company. So he called me one day and he goes, hey Dave, I have fond memories of Mt.Gilead. I remember the cabins. They definitely needed remodeling. I am a CEO of a software company, and it's a Christian organization that runs this software, and we are supposed to give money away every year. And I said, oh, okay, all right. I didn't ask him. He saw it on the webpage. He saw that we were doing remodels of cabins. So he said, okay, well, can I write you a check? I said, sure. So he wrote me a check for $80,000 and sent it to me.
Oh.
Wow.
Okay, that was in 2020, I believe. And then in 2021, he said, can I give you another check? I said, sure. So give me $90,000. Then in 2022, said, can I give you another check? I said, you do what God wants you to do. So he sent me $170,000. So all this money's piling up, and as a result, we've had the money to do all of these projects, including the solar. But what you don't know is that whole system down, the brand new ball field, 2 water tanks, and the pavilion, that's a rainwater catchment system. The Gould Ridge Resource Conservation District said, we want to do this so you don't take water out of your wells in August, September, and October. So we will do this. It's a $2.3 million project we paid nothing for.
Wow.
So we got a brand new ball field. We got fire protection written right into the
Contract or
right into the contract, because we have to water with those rainwater water tanks in August, September, and October for 25 years, and we have to maintain the system. But we paid nothing for it. So it's like, okay, I can sign up for that. But they bugged us it was probably 3 years in coming. But it's just like God just says, we want you to exist. You can't be reliant upon PG&E anymore. We're going to put in a solar microgrid. So then we're paying for part of the solar microgrid with what's left of the coin money. And it's $1,234,000 we're paying for that. But there's about $800,000 in government gifts too. They pay us back.
Yeah.
But we haven't got that yet, and because of our new president, we may never get it. But we have enough money that'll pretty much put us down to base again. We won't have any money left. But God has just taken care of all these things for His plans, His ways. I never in all my years here would have imagined that we would be doing this.
Yeah.
But it just one person after another. So yeah, just